stuff, and today we'll be reviewing my round 23 tips. For some reason I might have had auto pick on, and the tips have already been chosen. However, half of these tips also aren't actually my real opinion, so stay tuned for that. We're in round 24. It's crazy to think. There's a lot up for grabs. The 7th and 8th spot, obviously, and the 4th spot is crucial between the Roosters, Seagulls, and Eels, which will be really good to see who'll get. The 4th, I think Manly will personally, but you never know. Roosters or Eels could pop off and clutch, and something could happen. Anyway, let's get straight into the tips. So our first game of the round is Newcastle Knights versus the Gold Coast Titans. So if we have a look at the teams, quite a lot has changed for both these teams. Greg Margie dropped for Philip Sum. He's back from injury. Ash Taylor's been axed for Tyrone Peachey to come back in. Belter Waker looks like he's back from his slight knee injury. Interesting to see for Sumar Liao, he's still at prop, not at 13. The feed has been dropped to the interchange, which is interesting. And yeah, so I'm just a bit surprised that they haven't actually brought Toby Sexton into play 6. On game day, I personally think they will get Sexton to play 7 and Fogarty at 6. Tyrone back to the bench at 14, his personal best position, and Aaron Clark out of the side. I personally think that's the best option. Although Taylor's had a pretty good couple of weeks, but the Titans can't take any chances. They need to get in that 7th or 8th spot, so that's what they need to do. He had a really poor performance against the Storm last week, but other than that, he's had quite a couple of strong performances that sort of cemented that 6, but a really poor show against the Storm has sort of given him the axe. In the Knights side, quite a lot has changed. So Clemmer's been suspended for 1 week. Suaso Su taking that prop position. Frizzell back from his 1 week suspension. Jack Johns could return from a minor shoulder injury, which would take Chris Randall's spot on the bench. Connor Watts, every chance he could move back to the 14. Brodie Jones taking the 13. The Knights have quite a big void to fill in the forward pack with Daniel Saifidi and Clemmer out, so I think Titans had the upper hand with them getting some strong forwards back with Fodder Waker. It's interesting to say Sam Lusoni has been dropped. I think he's been one of their best forwards all year. He's really pretty good ball player for a big man, so I think he should definitely have a spot on the bench, but he haven't for some reason. Greg Margie's been dropped for Philip Summy, which we already touched on about earlier, but that's a bit unfair, I think, for him. So I'm going to go ahead and tip the Titans to win this occasion. I just think that with Saifidi and Clemmer, I think that'll just be a touch just too classy. I think with Feeder reverting back to the bench, he terrorised them in round 5, so I think he'll be apt to do that again. They'll bring him on for a 20-minute mark, do the same as he usually has, but they've just named him at the 15. Because he normally makes only 15 tackles on the edge, which is so poor, really poor, and he normally averages 3 missed tackles for the year. The next game of the round is the Raiders versus the Warriors. So obviously the last time these two teams played, the Warriors beat them with a controversial forward pass awarded to the Warriors. It was definitely forward, but they still got the win. We'll have a look at the lineup. Charles Hall-Clockstad still is not named at fullback, which is interesting, named at 14. Sam Williams dropped for Matt Frawley. Again, one of these teams that are desperate to make the 8, so they have to do it necessary. Croak is still not named in the side, although Raiders officials were saying that he could be named. Corey Horsburgh is back on loan from the Bulldogs, which is a big boost for them. In the Warriors side of things, they're also crucial. Looks like they've dropped Chanel Harris-Tavita, unless it's from injury. Let me know in the comments. With Gino Sullivan filling that void, they're another team that's desperate for the finals, and they still could potentially make it. Fanua Blake at 8, Matthew Lodge back, which is a massive in for them, and Cody Nikarima and Tavares their normal bench, which is, I think, their personal strongest bench. Rocco Burry's back from a hamstring strain, but I think on game day he'll replace Pompey, who's been playing pretty averagely, and yeah, I think this will be another real tight game. But I think with Matthew Lodge coming back into the side, I think they'll just be too good. Chad Townsend's Jota will be better. I think the new combination, Matt Frawley and Whiten, before he's on a natural halfback, he actually grew up through the beige playing second row and shift to the half later on. He's not a halfback naturally, so I'm going to go ahead and tip the Warriors. A 1 or 2 point game. This will be a really entertaining match, but I think the Warriors will be too good. The next match of the round is the Roosters versus the Rabbitohs. So this is always a great game to watch. I'm a personal Roosters supporter. Roosters' injury throws are horrible, especially in the backs with Dale Copley looks like to have a suspected MCL injury, which is really bad for us. Lockie Lamb had to move to shift to the centres, and Brad Abbey at 5. Walker's back in the starting side, as last week he came off the bench. Yeah, so we think we're completely outclassed in the back line, obviously. What's his name? Nat Butcher has been ruled out with a ankle injury, so we got his brother Egan filling that out, and our bench is extremely inexperienced. Ben Marshall's only played like 9 NRL games. The full White only played his first NRL game against the Brisbane Broncos. Baker's only debuted this year, and Thomas debuted this year, so really inexperienced bench. When we got Benji Marshall, he's played like he just played over 300 games as a veteran. So I think it's going to be a demolition. I think Rabbitohs will tear them to pieces. Lachlan Lamb being on the edge is a big target to put on Dane, Gagai, and Johnson. He's not a natural centre as well. He's small, naturally a 14 or a half. I think I'll just get outclassed. Our next game of the round is the Dragons versus Cowboys. Dufty dropped for Terrell Sloan. Dufty has been really poor. The Hammer at 1. Holmes shift to centre, which is an interesting decision. They got Billin back at 13, Maguire at 10, with Freddie Lussick on loan from the Roosters, which is interesting since they have so many injuries. But he's obviously a hooker, and they have a hooker at the moment in Sam Berrells. So, good for the Dragons to have that. Alvaro comes back into the side, which is a boost for them. Jaden Sullivan playing the current 9, and Telltale Armone keeping that 6 over Jaden Sullivan, who's dropped out of the side. Josh Kerr also named the 21, not the 17, which is interesting. On the Cowboys side, Jake Granville comes back to the bench, playing 3. Tom Lowry returns begin, but interestingly, he's playing at prop. Todd Payton's experimented with 2 different positions in the last couple of weeks. Second row, where he played awfully, not his natural position, and he's played at prop at this time, which will be interesting. His best positions are lock, definitely, but he's not there for some reason. Ruben Cotter over him, which is interesting, but I think he's true and true a lock. Francis Mollo back to the reserves for some reason. I don't know what's going on there. So I think this will be a really tight game, not a quality game. These two sides aren't really competing for finals. If Dragons win and there's a miracle to happen, they could make the finals. But I think with the getting the Hammer back at 1, back at full strength, and Tom Lolo, I still think the Dragons would just be a little too good for them. I think it would be really close, not 1 point, but a couple of points. So our next game of the round, 5:30, is Broncos Sharks. This will be another interesting game. Mulatalo out with a broken jaw, which ends his season. Moini Hiroti comes back in for the 1. To the 5 years, Luke Metcalf keeps his spot at 6 with a terrific performance last week. Matt Moylan named on the bench, interestingly. Ted Wilson, 17, and maintaining the same bench as they have last week. Same with the Broncos. They have Milford's kept at 6 since he had his really dominant performance last week, which was probably his best game all year, and then a couple of years, in fact. So I think this will be a really tight game as well, but I'm going to go with the Broncos over the Sharks. I think they'll just be just a little bit too classy for them. I think their half of Milford and Kelly's a really good combination, with Gamble gone for the year with hand surgery. I think that will be their the remaining 2 rounds they're going to play. I think that's going to be their half combination. I think the Broncos are too good. The next game of the round is the Storm versus the Parramatta Eels. So this will be an absolute flogging. Sivo gone for the year with an ACL injury. Opchek still not back, with he'd been dropped from a really poor performance against the Manly. Tennessee's been really good. Dylan Brown, Mitchell Moses, Papali'i still at the 8. His best position's 11 or 12, but he hasn't had the same impact as he normally has in recent weeks. Ray Stone named at 14 over Will Smith. Interestingly, Origin Kafusi dropped for Keegan, hit grave. On the Storm side of things, Nico Hines finally reverts to the bench, and they still have maintaining a really strong side. Remember, they still have Tui Kamitha, who's named on the bench, and also Sofa Solomona to come back on their strongest side. Also, they have Finucane out for one more week. On the Storm side of things, Iremia comes in for Jennings. Jerome Hughes comes back from a week of rest. Cheese is back from a rest. Chris Lewis maintains his 13 spot position, and their bench is the same except for Hines, who played at the halfback role. I think the Storm will be way too classy for them. I think it will be, I've already tipped them, I think it will be just an onslaught. I think this will be another 40, 30-point game, unless they pull out some people from the end. Next game of the round is the Bulldogs Eagles. Bulldogs lose their 2 players on loan who have been enormous for them in Ryan James and Corey Horsburgh. Not too much changes on the Bulldogs side. J.K. Rillo still not named back with a bit of a calf strain and a foot injury. With Carl Flanagan had a really poor performance last week, so I think they're trying to get Averillo to get back straight away. They have everything to play for. They have nothing to lose really, so they may try different combinations for next year, although they're getting Burton next year. Bailey Biondo Odo, he maintains the number 9 spot, which is great. I think he played awesomely last week. Matt Dory at the 11 with Elliott stood down. Thompson suspended for a week. Jackson 13. Not too much changes on that front. On the Seagulls boys, they get their best player, Tom Travojevic, back. Parker back from a head knock, which was pretty bad. Sipley named at 8 with Paseka Syndesmosis, I believe. Not too much changes on rest on the Eagles side, maintaining a strong side. I think Manly boys will certainly win. They've already tipped. And the last game of the round, the Tigers Panthers. So not too much changes on the Tiger side apart from Dewey being injured up for a week and Jock Madden filling those shoes. He should be back next week, hopefully for Tigers fans, because they still have their final stream alive. James Thomas still not back, unfortunately, for Tigers fans. Sean Bloor maintains at 11 spot. Luciano Leilua named, although he is in a bit of doubt. Dex Simkin named at 15, interestingly. He might come and play a lock or something in the last 20 minutes. So, Alex Seyfarth back for the Tigers, which is a really, really, really big boost. Obviously getting injured in round 10. So it's a big boost for him having back. And we look at the interchange. Billy Walters out at the side, although he had a pretty good performance last week. And the Jet named at 18. On the Panthers side of things, nothing too much happens really. Charlie Staines is out of the side. I think with Carden shifting to wing and Momorowski sort of solidifying their 3 role. Back for the Panthers, which is really good to see. Not too much. They got James Fisher-Harris comes back into the Panthers, so they're starting to rebuild their really strong side. Mitch Kennedy maintains the 14 position. Pango Jr. maintains the 16 position, and their bench is looking really strong, as well as their forwards. And I think their team's looking really strong. I think they have pretty much of a good. Same team as they did at the start of the year, apart from Pango Jr. They have a full-strength team, I think. So I think it'll be really interesting to see a Storm game versus Panthers game next week if that could happen, which it won't. So I think everyone knows where this will go. Panthers will smash them. So I think it will just be just a massive game. A margin will probably, I'm going to say, it's going to be pretty high scoring. With the Storm will smash the Eels, the Panthers, Seagulls will smash their opponents, Rabbitohs will smash us, the Chooks. So I think I'm going to enter the margin of, I'll go 14, I think, is a reasonable margin. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. It is slightly long, but I covered it in quite a lot of detail. Please like and subscribe. We're at 8 subscribers, which is really good. We hit 8 likes in our last video, which is our highest likes we've ever made, and also 46 views, which is really, really good. Anyway, smack that like button. Hope you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more content, and also make sure to leave a comment. Anyway, see ya.